morning and welcome to Trail Grazers, where we talk about good food on the trail and share with you our adventures as we go off into the wild on road trips, day trips, trailer trips, camping, whatever it is that we choose to do. So today we're going to talk about something that is really important when we are out in the wilderness. Any of us are out in the wilderness and we have to go to the bathroom. And this is especially for women. And I want to start with just a little story. Just after I turned 40, I went back to graduate school. And I was studying at the University of Texas at El Paso. And my degree was in biology, but it was field biology, plant ecology. And we graduate students had a professor that we just adored. He was wonderful, very, very knowledgeable. And in my very first class, where we went out on one of our field trips, where we would meet early in the morning, be gone all day long, and then come back in the early evening, we went into the mountains of New Mexico. And I'd brought a lunch, some snacks, some water. And as we sat down in the middle of the day to have lunch, well, I should back up for just a second. All of us had a field journal and a pencil that we kept with us at all times. And we pretty much hung on his every word. When we would go and stop and look at plants and talk about things, we would jot all that down in our journals. Well, after lunch was over and people were kind of taking a little rest, he stood up and he said, "I'm just going to go over here and check the birds." And so I looked at all of my fellow graduate students. There were about 8 of us in that trip. Nobody got up. Nobody grabbed their field journal. And so I grabbed my field journal and my pencil. And by that time, he was probably about, 100 yards ahead of me, 50 yards. And so I started off after him. And I knew I couldn't catch up with him, so I just decided to pace him. So I followed him into the woods, knowing that I could catch up with him when he stopped to observe those birds. Well, when I caught up to him to where I could catch a glimpse, he wasn't looking at birds at all. I was mortified, just mortified. I don't think that he saw me. I turned very quietly and made my way back, where, of course, my fellow graduate students were just in stitches. No one had bothered to tell me that going to check out the birds was the key phrase that people used when they wanted to go to the bathroom in that particular group. So I learned kind of a lesson there. And a little bit later, after I'd finished my doctorate and was leading field trips of my own, and I've done that for the past 2 decades, I made sure that our folks had some training about what to do. At that point in time, back when I was first a graduate student, I didn't know how to go to the bathroom in the woods. I had no clue how to. I just thought I would just wait and go when I got home. Well, of course, that was an impossibility. And so I had to just be really embarrassed without having anything to work with when nature called. And so with my own field trip groups, these were mostly teachers. I wrote grants and was able to have those funded, hired a crew, and we took these teachers into the field where there were no public restrooms. And so our teachers came to the university for 3 preliminary meetings before we actually went into the field. And in one of those meetings, we gave bathroom tips for the wild. And so I thought that I would share those things with you. You know, it's nice if you have some shrubs to duck behind, but mostly where we went, it was just wide open with not very many tall shrubs at all. So what we would do on our trips is we were always in about 5 or 6 vans, and we would park those vans in a solid line, and we would say the men go on one side and the women go on the other side. And so even then, women by nature are a little bit more embarrassed to pee and poop in front of each other than are men. And besides, men have it quite a bit easier, as we all know. So we'll just set that aside because we have to deal with our gender and how we have to do things. And it's not easy for us. We have to drop our drawers and then squat and then run the risk of getting splashed on. Well, there are some tricks and some things that we can take with us in a little what I call a bathroom pack that will make things a little bit easier. And nobody taught me this. I just learned it by experience, and sometimes the experience was a little bit embarrassing. And so as I would talk to the teachers about it, I didn't mince any words. I told them just exactly, using proper terminology, what to do out in the woods or the wilderness or whatever when nature calls. Okay, so I have laid out here some supplies. And what we're going to do is talk about each one. And as we do, I'll talk about the procedure and the process. And when we're done, we should have a pretty good idea of the ways that we can go to the bathroom in the woods, preserving as much privacy as we can without getting splashed on, and preserving our dignity. So this equipment, these supplies, are laid out as what just a general woman might use. Over the past 20 years since I've been doing all this, actually it's more like the past 40 years, but especially since I was leading my own groups, my needs have changed. And so has my bathroom pack supply list changed. And so you need to tailor it to whatever your personal needs are when you go to the bathroom. But there are some things that belong in every pack, and then there are some things here that I no longer use, but I have out because some women still use them. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is this handy dandy little spade. It is titanium, I think. It's a very sturdy little spade, and it's just the right size to go into a bathroom pack. Now, what you do with this is that you dig a little hole about 4 inches deep. It's about as deep as this is and about 4 inches wide. And you do that if you can. There are some soils that you can't even break, and so you just have to deal with it. But when you can, dig a little hole. And then you position yourself so that you pee right over that hole. And that stops a lot of the splashing. And so that's one great thing. And then you use the spade to cover that all up. And then the same thing if you have to poop. You might want to dig a little bit larger little hole, and then you position yourself over that hole and you poop. And then you bury it. But now here's what you don't bury. You do not bury whatever you wipe yourself with. So what is it that we need to use to wipe ourselves with? Well, the answer is whatever you want. You can use leaves, you can use a snowball, you can use a rock. I myself prefer toilet paper. And so there are 2 ways that you can do toilet paper. Well, these are the 2 ways that I have done it. I just wait until I get a roll of toilet paper that's almost done. Then I pull it off the little roller in the bathroom and I smash it flat, and then it just fits nicely in my pack. If I don't have one that is almost done, then I will just wind some toilet paper around my hand, and that also works to go in your pack. Now for some of us, these little wet wipes are very handy. I started off using wet wipes, but because I have bathroom packs that I keep permanently in blue, permanently in my hiking backpack, they stay there for months on end, and sometimes these dry up. And so they're not worth the dampness that was once there, and besides, they're just a little bit more bulky. But I've also have a big stack of wet ones that I can take out a little bit and fold them up in a plastic bag. That's one way that you could do it as well. I don't carry these anymore. What I carry are these. Now, these little things are called coin tissues. Whoop. And this is a container that came right in the box of the coin tissues. And they also fit perfectly in a prescription bottle, which is what I carry in some of my bathroom packs. And these things are so very handy. I always carry water, always. And so what you do with this little corn tissue is you put it in your hand, and you put a few drops of water on it. And look at that, it just swells right up. Absorbs that water, and when it's done absorbing, then you can just open it up, unfold it, it's nice and damp. These are so wonderful, not just for bathrooming, but if you need to cool your face down, like I do often when I'm hiking. This is one thing I can do to cool my face down. And then these, with wiping, there is a technique that is used that you can get a lot of bang for your buck here. You can wipe once with it open, fold it in half, wipe once this way, fold it in half, wipe once this way, and fold it again, and then it is ready to go into your trash bag. We carry out all toilet paper or wiping material or period material, period supplies. We don't ever leave those in the wilderness. And so that is one of my preferred ways. I carry a little container of these in my purse all the time. They're very handy to have for a whole lot of reasons. Next, for feminine products, I have a whole lineup here. I have daughters and daughters-in-law and granddaughters that come over, so I stay pretty well supplied. So whatever you need, be sure that you include that in your bathroom pack, knowing that all pieces of the trash and the product itself would go into your personal trash bag. Then, if you struggle from hemorrhoids, which 80% or more of us do, and the reason for that is because we walk upright and we live on a planet that has gravity, and so it's no embarrassment. It is a very common ailment. And you don't, even though you may not be having an episode at the moment when you leave to go on your camp or your trip or whatever, it would be horrible to be caught without medication if you have a flare-up. And so this is always a really handy thing to take care of, that particular need. And then, of course, we cannot underestimate the importance of carrying hand sanitizer with us. Let's talk for a minute about privacy. Oh, I want to go back to wiping for just a minute. There are some people who hike a lot and who do a lot of backpacking that don't mess with any of these products. They have what they call a pee rag, and usually it's a bandana type material, and that's what they use for wiping for pee or poo, either one. And then they just hang it on the outside of their backpack and let it blow and dry in the wind, and then they rinse it out when they get back to camp or back home or something. So that is also an alternative if you do a lot of hiking and don't want to mess with disposable products. I won't ever use one of those, but that is a possibility. Also, in this column, there are now period pants. And if you need to pack an extra pair of period pants in your bathroom pack, then you can also do that. All right, now, how can we preserve our privacy a little bit? Well, there are several ways. First of all, if we are on a public trail, any kind of a trail that the Forest Service has designated as a trail, or any kind of a public trail, the rule of thumb, and sometimes in some states it is the law, that you remove yourself 200 feet away from that trail. That's about 70 strides to get away from it, and also 200 feet from any water source. If you're camping at a place next to a river or a stream, get away from that water source when you go to the bathroom. So that's one thing. Then, of course, the most ideal thing is that it's just you, and you can hide behind a bush and get everything done. And when you squat, if you are on flat terrain, you know that it's going to pool. And so sometimes the pool can get bigger and bigger and bigger and get your shoes. That's why we want to dig a little hole. If you are on an incline, it's good to face uphill. And so the urine will run downhill and avoid your shoes. So that's just a couple of hints as well. If you are in a group, like on our field trips, what the women did was that they would go find as private a place as possible, but you don't want to get too far away from the vans because otherwise you're going to be seen. And so they would kind of turn their backs to each other. And we had on one of our trips one woman who just threw a poncho over herself for privacy. I don't know how she kept the edge of the poncho from getting wet, but she managed. Another thing, when you are on a road trip and you just pull over to the side of the road, it is not that necessary to go 200 feet from your vehicle. You can just go right there by the side of the road. And especially you can look for a place that has some shielding shrubbery there that you can also use. Another trick to do is if you are in a four-door vehicle, you can open and pull way off the road, and you're doing this to the doors that are on the rider's side, not the driver's side next to the road, but you open both doors in the vehicle that provides some privacy from oncoming traffic, and then you can just squat right there. If your vehicle has a running board, do they still call them running boards, that little step, the extra step?
To me, they do. I don't know if that's the new terminology, but yeah, it's a running board.
Okay, so if your vehicle has a running board, like my truck does, then it's really cool because you can dig your little hole, and then you can drop your drawers just about to your knees and scooch out to the very edge of that running board, position yourself over the hole, and you don't need to squat low. And it really saves you, and you can even lift your feet up if you can hold the weight of your feet up while you pee. So those are just some things. And then when you pack your bag, a bathroom bag can be in as small as this, or I have them in larger packs as well, depending on what I want to put in there and how long I'm going to be gone. So I'm going to pack this up as if I were preparing a bathroom bag for perhaps a typical woman. So I'm going to drop in my shovel, and I would sanitize this after every use. That's just me. And then I would put my toilet paper in and my coin towels, some pads, some preparation H, sanitizer, and then my personal trash bag. Remembering that my personal trash bag is going to have some things in it, and so I've got to accommodate that in this amount of space. And so this is just a nice handy little bathroom bag that goes easily in a backpack. Now, I can just tell you from my experience that having a bathroom pack with you is, how do I say this? Is sometimes I just love having the peace of knowing that if needed, I have a bathroom pack. So I have one, as I've mentioned, a permanent one that I keep on blue, or side by side, a permanent one that I keep in my backpack, and then a portable one that I carry with us when we're in Jim's car or in my truck when we go. And you don't have to use a Ziploc baggie. There are all kinds of little zippered pouches that you can get to use them as well. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope that you can get the picture of how you can preserve your modesty a little bit and not get splashed on, and make sure that we protect the environment and animals. We don't want animals to uncover dirty toilet paper or anything else. It just makes I saw a picture online once of what they called a toilet paper bloom, where a whole lot of people had gone to the bathroom and just left their toilet paper there, and it was just awful. And so that's why we want to pack it out, and it is now the law in many places that we do pack that out. So hope you enjoy this information and make good use of it. Thanks so much for being with us, and we will see you again very soon out there on the trail.